I hired someone to help my daughter get into college, and he almost helped her into a coffin instead. My daughter was failing 3 classes junior year, and her dream of getting into a good college was slipping away fast. I found a tutor online with dozens of 5-star reviews and references from families who swore he transformed their kids' futures. His first session with her lasted 2 hours, and she came out smiling, actually excited about her homework for the first time in years. In 3 weeks, her grades went from D's to B's, and she stopped complaining every time she had to study. He remembered little things about her life, like her favorite songs and which friends she was fighting with. She started calling him actually cool, which was the highest compliment she gave any adult. We gave him the garage code so he could let himself in on days we were running late from work. The first time I came home knowing he'd already been there alone with her for an hour, my stomach was in knots the entire drive. I walked in ready to find something wrong, and instead found them at the kitchen table with textbooks spread everywhere, and my daughter laughing at something he'd said about calculus. She looked up at me and said, "Mom, I actually understand derivatives now," and I felt stupid for worrying. One night, my husband and I both got stuck late at work and didn't get home until almost 9. The house was dark and quiet when we pulled into the driveway, and my heart started pounding as I fumbled with my keys. I was bracing myself to walk in on something horrible. We found them in the study with the door wide open, my daughter showing him the A she'd gotten on her history paper. "She worked so hard on this one," he said with genuine pride in his voice, and I remember thinking I needed to stop being so paranoid. When we had a weekend trip planned a few weeks later, he offered to check in on her since he'd be there for sessions anyway. I spent the whole weekend fighting the urge to call and check in every hour, imagining worst-case scenarios that made me feel like a terrible person for even thinking them. We came home to a spotless house and our daughter glowing about how productive she'd been. "He helped me finish my entire college essay draft," she said, and I felt guilty for every suspicious thought I'd ever had about this man who had done nothing but help our family. A few days later, my friend pulled me aside at a coffee shop. "Don't you think it's a little weird how close your daughter is with this tutor? She talks about him constantly and it's giving me a weird vibe." My face got hot. "He's a professional with dozens of references, and her grades have never been better." I drove home angry that anyone would try to make something innocent into something ugly. Then one evening I was driving home from work and I saw smoke rising from our neighborhood, thick and black against the sky. I drove faster because there were fire trucks everywhere blocking the road. I abandoned my car and started running because the smoke was coming from our street, and I already knew before I turned the corner. It was our house, and flames were pouring out of the kitchen windows. My daughter was being loaded into an ambulance with an oxygen mask over her face, completely unconscious. I screamed her name and tried to climb in with her, but an EMT grabbed my shoulders. "Ma'am, we need space to work on her." The next few hours in that hospital were the worst of my entire life as doctors worked on her smoke-damaged lungs. Her tutor sat next to me in the waiting room the entire time with tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. I stepped outside for a cigarette and I thought I put it out. I swear I thought it was out. This is all my fault. I couldn't even look at him, but I couldn't be angry either because all I could think about was my baby girl. The doctor finally came through those doors after what felt like a lifetime. "She's stable and she's going to make a full recovery. She's awake and asking for her mom." I collapsed into my chair sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. He grabbed my hand and squeezed it, and I actually squeezed back because in that moment he was the only other person on earth who understood what we'd just been through together. "I'm so glad she's okay," he said, wiping his eyes. "I don't know what I would have done if something happened to her." I put my hand on his shoulder and said, "It wasn't your fault. Accidents happen." And I meant it. I actually meant it. I reached for my phone to call my husband with the good news, but I must have grabbed his off the chair by mistake because we had the same case. I opened it to dial and my blood turned to ice. There were hundreds of photos of my daughter on his phone. Some were taken through her bedroom window at night while she changed her clothes. There were photos of her asleep on our couch with a blanket draped over her that he must have placed there himself so he could photograph her unconscious face. Close-ups of her lips, her hands, her bare legs when she wore shorts around the house. A folder labeled with her name containing images that will never leave my brain no matter how hard I try to burn them out. He put his hand on my knee with tears still streaming down his face and the warmest smile I'd ever seen. "Our girl is going to be okay." I lunged at him so hard we both crashed to the floor and I beat his face until I couldn't recognize it anymore. He's lucky he didn't end up in a coffin himself, just a jail cell for being on a registry he never should have been near my daughter with.